So I'm going to pour 500 milliliters of water. This is just tap water. Obviously the distilled water, it's a great option, but it's a bit more expensive. So we just try to keep everything to kind of a low budget and very easy to get. So you all have granulated sugar handy. If you don't have granulated sugar, the caster sugar will do. It's not the ideal one, but it will do. Granulated sugar is purer. It doesn't have so much anti-caking agent. That's the starch which is normally added to the sugar just to prevent the absorption of the moisture. So we all have granulated sugar or caster sugar in our kitchen, and this is just tap water. So it's just literally just pick it from the tap. So I will pour the sugar over. I've got 1 kilogram of sugar. And along with the sugar, I will add some cream of tartar. Okay, one sachet has got 5 grams. I'm going to use half of it, 2.5 grams. If you've got a small scale, you can obviously, measure. But if you don't have one, just open the pack and estimate. Now, if you go a bit over, then it's no problem. But just try to put about half of the pack. Good. Now I'm going to stir this properly, and I'll put the heating plate on. I will start with low to medium temperature because I really don't want to rush this sugar to boil. I want the sugar to have the chance to get dissolved before starting to boil. That will help all the impurities to raise at the top, and I will be able to remove them, to remove all that scum before causing any crystallization of the sugar. So sugar is more sensitive than the isomalt, so a bit more attention should be paid when boiled, so that you practically remove all the impurities as you go along. So I will start by putting the temperature down to about 80 degrees for just 2 minutes, I would say, till the liquid starts warming up and the sugar starts dissolving. You can stir continuously if you like, or you can just wait for the temperature to melt the sugar. Now, if you end up getting sugar on the side of the bowl, then just get a brush and put some water into a clean bowl, and then just moisten the brush and clean the sides. It's essential to keep the pot and the utensils clean while the boiling process goes on, because if not, as I said, all those crystals can cause the crystallization of the sugar. Once crystallized, the sugar, it cannot be used. So we will try to get a nice sugar without crystallizing. When the sugar will reach the boiling temperature and I will notice the first bubbles appearing, I will put the glucose. Now you can use glucose, okay, or you can use corn syrup, whatever you've got handy. I'm going to use the glucose this time, and I've warmed it into the microwave for about 30 seconds as I only have like a quarter of this bucket left. And the reason why I've warmed the glucose was literally just to make it runny and easier to be poured out from the bucket. So I will set the balance to 0 with my glucose on top, and then I will take 50 grams away. So I will just check on the scale to make sure I've picked the right amount. Okay, so I'll just keep stirring to try and help the sugar dissolve gently. Now I will raise the temperature to 100 degrees. It's not a preset time when you should increase the temperature. The reason why I do it slowly is just to allow the sugar the necessary time to melt. Okay, as if you rush the process, all that dirt will actually start boiling, and then you will not be able to maintain the clarity and cleanness of the sugar, and you might run the risk of getting the sugar crystallized. So you've noticed that it's a bit more hassle than with the isomalt. With the isomalt, we had no cleaning involved, and it was all straightforward. I said you can cook the isomalt with or without water. If you use water, obviously it will need to be distilled water, and the whole process works very quick. Now with the sugar, it takes a bit longer. It's cheaper indeed, but it takes longer time, and also the sugar will be super sensitive to humidity. So whenever you store your decorations, you need to make sure that you keep them away from the air, especially if the air is humid. Now there is a way to control this absorption of humidity by placing some desiccated agent or silica gel inside of a container, airtight container, and placing all the sugar decoration into that container. So they will literally be in an environment which is free of any moisture. But if you cannot afford to kind of put your decorations away due to the size of the decoration or the fact that you don't have the right storage, then you will just need to cope with the humidity. There is a way to slightly protect the sugar. It's not going to give you the perfect barrier, but it will protect a little. You can spray with the glaze. There is edible glaze spray, or you can just buy it as a liquid in bottles. But it's a bit more difficult to brush, as sometimes your sugar decorations are quite intricate and fragile, so they can break. While if you use the spray, you can spray one coat, leave it to dry, and then apply another coat, and so on. So that will give you a good protection, so the humidity will not attack your sugar immediately. Same thing can be done with the isomalt as well. Now this edible glaze, it does have a tint of yellow, so just be careful when you apply it, as if you apply a large amount in one go, it will start dripping, and it will also stain, giving that kind of a yellowish color to your sugar. Okay, as you can notice, all that say dirt, the impurities of the sugar, they've started to raise up. So I will just increase the temperature to 120, and with my sieve I will take all that dirt away. It's dirt, it's more like dust, and it's part of that anti-caking agent, which quite often is a starch, and is added to the sugar to make sure that the sugar doesn't clump and get into lumps while it's sitting on the shelf in the supermarket or whatever. Trying to prevent for the sugar to be attacked by the moisture. But this practically is impurity. All this can be picked while the boiling process starts. So we'll just keep an eye and remove the dirt. Now with the dirt, we will need to cope with this till we reach about 125 degrees. At 125 degrees, we should be kind of be able to get rid of the dirt, and also at 125 degrees we will have not too much water left, so the steam will actually be, the amount of steam coming from boiling, it will be very low as well. Okay, some sugars are purer than the others, so sometimes it really depends on the brand. You can get better quality sugars or worse quality sugars, but you never know unless you try, as even the same brand sometimes doesn't provide the same quality. So clean the size of the pot, increasing the temperature to 160, 170 degrees. So the sugar did started to boil, but I will continue to remove the scums, the dirt, and I will be adding the glucose. So we'll just set the scale to 0 and then start pouring the glucose. Now the glucose kind of got firm, so I need to make sure that, you know, it comes out nicely. So I will because I've done it for so many times, I've got a rough idea about how much 50 grams is like. So I've got like 54 missing from the bucket, but I've got some along the the knife, the blade of the knife. So yeah, it's about 52 grams. So that's how much I put on my sugar, which is fine. Okay, now 1 or 2 grams more or less is no problem. Okay, if you're not too confident you can grab the right amount, then just weigh the glucose separately into a small container, warm up that, and then pour it over your sugar. So as you can notice, the sugar did started to boil, so I'm going to carry on cleaning the top. And from time to time I will just wash the sides of the cooking pot as well. Okay, and I will just increase the temperature even more. Now my induction plate only works till 200, up to 200 degrees Celsius. Some of the more expensive heating plates, they develop high temperatures, much higher than the one I bought here. But for me, it just does the job, and I've got few, and I'm really pleased with the way they work. They are great for cooking sugar or preparing ganaches or syrups and caramels and stuff. So I will always recommend for whoever can afford to get an induction plate instead of a normal one. It just saves the time and also keeps the pots clean. It's not so much hassle to maintain the cleanness of your pots if you've got an induction plate. The heat is controlled better because it all goes underneath. You can even touch the pot, but that's not the the purpose of having an induction plate, because you still need to be quite precaution and stay safe. But the most important thing is that the cooking gets done quicker, purely because all the heat gets underneath the pot, not on the side of the pot. Okay, so again, just getting the brush to clean the sides of the pot. So I need to keep cooking up to about 150 degrees. At 150 degrees, if you want to color the sugar, you will need to add the color. And as I've mentioned previously when I've cooked the isomold, I said the ideal color to use will be a pure liquid color, which you can obtain by dissolving some powdered or dust color with a drop or two of hot water. The water will dissolve completely the dust, and you will have the cleanest possible liquid color. If you buy ready made as a liquid color, so if you buy liquid colors, they also have got preservatives, as they have a very long shelf life. They intend to kind of add some preservatives to make sure that they are safe to use for a very long time. While if you just mix the dust with water, then will be less impurities. You can definitely use things like gel colors if you want. I'm not saying they don't work, but they will just add a bit more say mess to your sugar or impurities, whatever you want to call them. Okay, so just keep cleaning the sides. Now at this point I will start taking the temperature. To take the temperature, I will use a thermometer which can be inserted. Now an infrared thermometer is not going to work. I mean, it will obviously work, but it will only take the temperature of the top, yeah? So it's quicker, but it's not the best one you can work with, because it's not accurate. It cannot read the temperature inside of the liquid. While if I set this on the side, it's still a bit too early to put the thermometer in, because you will notice over 125 degrees will be no steam coming through. So that means at this point I will be below 125 degrees. So there is no steam coming through above 125. And also the sugar starts getting a bit thicker. So we've got that kind of soft ball or soft thick soft ball consistency. So yeah, still a lot to go, and I will just keep removing the dirt. At 125 we will get rid of the water and also get rid of the mess. So will be no cleaning after 125 degrees. Still got a long way to go as we are just in 106 degrees Celsius. And to be honest, it does take a little while to reach the 125 degrees. Now once you've reached the 125 degrees, the cooking process will be much quicker. Okay, once you've lost the water, the sugar will actually cook unbelievably quick. So that brings up another issue. Sometimes you reach the right temperature of cooking, which on the sugar is about 160-165 degrees with this method. But if you don't transfer the pot on a cold surface immediately, the sugar will carry on cooking and you will get more like an amber color onto your sugar. So I've got already a bowl on the side prepared with cold water. So once the temperature, the ideal temperature is reached, 160, 62, 65, I will just pop the bottom of the bowl into that cold water, and that will stop the process of cooking. If you remember, when we cooked the isomalt, we said that that's not super important because we intend to cook the isomalt to 180 degrees, but it's still safe and it doesn't caramelize up to 220 degrees. So it's a large range of temperatures in between 180 and 220. While with the sugar, if it goes over 165 with few degrees, they will turn up actually amber. So it's more precaution to be taken with the sugar. So if you take in consideration the length of the time required for cooking, all those sensitive aspects like cleaning, making sure that it doesn't get over the cooking temperature, it just gives you automatically you know, an idea about how much more convenient it is to use isomalt. Plus storage, you can store the both. Once they are cooked, you can either use a silicone mold and just pour the isomalt or hot sugar into the mold and then wait till it gets cold, and you can store the small pieces. Or you can just pour into a tray, wait till it cools down, then just cut in small pieces while it's still cuttable. And I will show you another method of just pouring to a Pyrex jug and then rewarm whenever it's necessary. So different ways to store the sugar or the isomalt. But whenever you store sugar, the sugar will absorb the moisture quicker, and you will notice like a skin on top of the sugar, which looks like kind of a white dust. It gives a cloudy look to the sugar, and that happens quicker and more often than it happens with the isomalt. Just going to get tissue to wipe the screen off my thermometer. Okay. Just keep checking the temperature. There's still a lot of steam going around. Okay, so I've got like 110 going up slowly. I can't wait to reach that 125. So once that's reached, then the cooking process goes super rapid. But it's just trying to get rid of all the water. Okay, I've got 114 going to 115. You notice that the sugar started to get quite thick. checking the temperature again. So I know you might think it's just time consuming to watch the full video and see exactly how long it takes for the sugar to be cooked. But in case that you want to cook your own sugar, I will advise you to watch every single minute, because it will give you an idea about how your sugar should look like, and you will get an idea about how long the cooking process will practically be, so that you can organize your time and you know, get your sugar ready earlier if you don't want to run out of time when you make your decorations. So I'm on 120 degrees Celsius, so the temperature goes up little by little. You notice that the sugar now is quite thick. Okay, there is no mess now on my sugar to be removed. Okay, and the temperature now is 123 degrees. What I usually, you know, used to do is, because I've got different thermometers, I quite often use the infrared one to check the temperature. And when I start reading with that thermometer like 140 degrees, I intend to swap to this one, the one which is inserted, to get more accurate reading, because I know that by that temperature, 140 degrees, I'm still safe, and also the temperature inside is not probably more than 5-6 degrees higher than the temperature at the top. Okay, so I'm not running the risk of caramelizing the sugar. Now I'm on 129 and it keeps going up. I did say from above 125 the temperature goes up very quick. So I'm aiming for about 160 to 165 degrees, as literally I'm not going to color this sugar, or even if I will do, I will probably do just a little bit after cooking, as I'm not planning to use the sugar for pulling or for blowing. This is going to be fine. But if you are planning to do any blowing or pulling, then I would suggest to cook the color. So add the color at 150 degrees Celsius and then carry on cooking up to 160, 165 degrees Celsius. So I'm in 137 degrees now, 38. Getting quite exciting as the time comes when we will need to sort out what we do with the sugar. So just to get things ready, as I don't need the bowl with the brush and the sieve, I will take this away. I don't need the knife anymore. So I'm going to set here on my marble slab a mat, that's a heat-proof mat, and another silicone mat. This is heat-proof as well, but I just want to make sure that I can use this to create a decoration, and the other one will just help me to control the temperature. And also I've got this Pyrex jug which I'm going to use to store whatever sugar I've cooked. So we'll just check the temperature again. That's probably now over 150 degrees. And you see the sugar is quite thick. Yeah, as I said, it just goes up. It's just more than 150. Yes, 54. I think we are quite close to 160. Okay, but you've noticed that the sugar did turn up in more like an amber color. So I'm 160 degrees. I will turn this off and transfer the pot into this bowl where I've got the cold water, so I'll just stop the process of cooking. So comparing with the isomalt, you see the sugar, it turns up a bit yellowish. It's still nice, yeah, but it's a bit yellowish. So if you're planning to color, then it's going to be fine, but if you want to get it clear, this is kind of a yellow clear. It's not translucent yellow. It's not quite, you know, clear. Good. I can transfer it back onto my heating plate because that's already cold, so it will not be a problem. And I will just wait a little till the sugar kind of gets a bit cold. It will not be cold. The temperature will drop a few degrees, and I will just wipe the moisture, as I don't want to put any moisture onto my sugar, as it's going to start spitting on me. Again, I will just pour some of the sugar onto my Pyrex jug, gently, without rushing, because the jug is quite cold and I don't want any accidents to happen.